shine, do a little bit of an analysis on a fight that was definitely under the radar. Definitely underrated insofar as going into it like looking like it was going to be a potential fight of the year candidate, just a potential great clash between two of the top lightweights. And that fight that I'm talking about is the fight that just happened between Denis Shafikov and Richard Commey, two former IBF contenders for the title. Of course, Shafikov previously had two losses to Miguel Vasquez, as well as a close loss to Rancis Barthélemy. Of course, Richard Commey managed to get basically the heartbreaking loss against Robert Easter Jr. in a fight that very easily could have gone his way. Very, very close fight. It's dead close. And that pretty much proved to be the case again here between Commey and Shafikov. Wound up being a split decision. One judge had it 116 112 for Commey, one had it 116 112 for Shafikov. The third judge had it 115 113 for Shafikov. Of course, they were fighting in Moscow in Russia, so it was Shafikov's home turf. Personally, I wound up scoring it 115 to 113 for Denis Shafikov. It was a fantastic fight. A lot of hard rounds to score, man. Like this is definitely another fight that could have gone either way. Um, but overall, I think that in more of the rounds than not, that Shafikov's overall pressure and his combination punching and the fact that he was throwing his shots just a little bit shorter and sharper, in between Comey's a little bit slightly wider swings is kind of what won him some of those rounds. As well as the fact that the right hook and I mean really the right hook in particular managed to stun Comey a couple of times. Of course, Comey managed to stun Shafikov a couple of times as well with his right hand. When he managed to throw that thing straight down the pipe. But overall, I think he was just a little bit too jab happy. He wasn't quite throwing enough power shots behind that jab, or changing it up a little bit, maybe leading with those power shots, and he was allowing Shafikov to just get a little bit too much forward momentum, push him back up against those ropes, and rattle off combinations, where Shafikov would rattle off combinations to the body and then finish off to the head, where Commey would oftentimes have the high guard up as he was up on the ropes, or would try to roll up against him, and Shafikov would just had the tools in order to throw those combinations in and around that guard that Commey would throw up, and also before Commey would manage to get off the counters. And even when Commey was able to get off some of those counters, Shafikov had really tremendous head movement, tremendous torso movement, almost like that kind of peekaboo-esque Tyson style in how he moved side to side, and really kind of integrated and initiated his defense into his offense. He really did a excellent job at doing that. Really just a great fight all the way through. I can't even really say it like break down too much insofar as who controlled each round, because it's like there were so many shifts in tide between each round. Like you could have easily, like just like the judges had, you could have either had it 1-8 to 4 one way, 8 to 4 the other way. I wouldn't even necessarily be surprised if somebody had it 9 to 3. Although I think that's probably pushing it a bit too far, because of the fact that each one of these rounds was so damn nip and tuck. I think that Commey definitely probably did his best work in the middle rounds, but I think that he gassed out just a tad. In the later rounds, where Shafikov's overall conditioning kind of pulled him through and managed to get him those rounds that he was really needing late on, whereas Commey started to, I guess, just kind of just gas out essentially in the later rounds. But even saying that, I can't even say that to enough of an extent, just because of the fact that both of their volumes were so high throughout the entire fight. Like these were two very well conditioned fighters going into this, and I mean they kept up the pace pretty nastily throughout the entire fight. I'd say Commey slowed down just a tad towards the end, but even still, I mean, he still had a very high output. Was still throwing with pretty good power. Just wasn't quite the same power that he had shown in the early and the mid rounds. Shafikov was pretty consistent throughout the entire fight. Same general level of power, general level of speed, general level of volume in the later rounds as he had shown in the early rounds. So I mean, just a solid fight from both of them. Of course, unfortunately there had to be a loser. Was no draws in this case. Wound up being Commey with a tough loss. But I mean, the thing is, you definitely can't count Commey out in any future title opportunity, any future big fight that he was to take place in. I wouldn't count him out of any fight, no matter who it is. Whether it's the winner of the Mikey Garcia versus Dejan Zlaticanin fight that's coming up, whether it's Jorge Linares in the future, potentially Peter Petrov is out there. May wind up coming across him sometime in the near future. Terry Flanagan, I'd give Commey a very very good chance to flatten Terry Flanagan just with that power. that he has. But Shafikov managed to come through. I'd really love to see Shafikov get a fight with Robert Easter. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the come next, because going into this fight, Commey was ranked number 3. Dennis Shafikov was ranked number 5 in the IBF. Of course, they have the 2 top spots vacant. So I'm sure Shafikov now fills that top spot to fight Robert Easter. I think that's a fantastic fight. Really, just another great fight, another great opportunity for Shafikov to potentially get a title, and another opportunity for Robert Easter to really show what he's got. To a good comparison fight compared to how Miguel Vasquez did, how Francis Barthélemy did, how Richard Commey did, of course, too. And just another good test as to who's really the top fighter at lightweight. It's kind of up in the air to a certain degree. Still, I mean, of course, Jorge Linares probably has the single best wins last year or so that he's managed to rack up. The Garcia's a teaching winner will definitely have a good argument, and Easter, especially if he was to fight and defeat Shafikov, would have a great argument. If Shafikov were to defeat Robert Easter, he'd probably have a little bit less of one simply because of the losses that he's had in the last couple of years. But in spite of that, still, he definitely have to be like a top 3 at least, very easily. But I mean, just a fantastic win for Denis Shafikov. I'm gonna put the link for this fight down in the description box, and I suggest all of you guys watch it. I mean, boxing is pretty light this week. Not too many big things going down, except for, I mean, pretty much the Lebedev versus Garcia fight today. But this is another fight in addition to that one. That's just a top tier fight. Two of the best potential contenders without a title that you could possibly get at any weight class, really. I mean, these 2 fighters are the real deal. Could very easily see both of them becoming champions sometime in the future. And hey, who knows? Maybe they'll rematch as champions in order to unify. I could very well see something like that taking place in the future, as long as they both get back on the winning track, at least as far as Commey is concerned, considering he just took the loss. But I mean, great fight from both of them. Props to both fighters for putting on a fantastic show. Props to Shafikov for actually getting the W. And I think that's going to do it for this one, guys. So I'll catch you guys on this one. Peace.